Hey guys, my name is Elodie, and I realized my dreams when I made it to the 2012 London Olympics. I represented a little island called Mauritius that's located in the Indian Ocean. And this has been a lifelong dream of mine ever since I was a little kid watching the '96 Atlanta Olympics. I moved to Canada and played for the University of Toronto. And then my coach put a seed in my mind that I could probably represent Mauritius at the Olympics. I don't know what it is about the Olympics that really fascinated me. I just thought, wouldn't it be really cool if I can go to this Olympic Games in the future and play. It just felt like a really big playground to me where everybody in the world would come together and play their favorite sport. And yet, when I got to the Olympics, that's what I really wrestled with, and I couldn't really pinpoint the feeling or the emotion that I felt, but I felt in many ways disappointed that it was not what I expected, not what I had been growing up to think, and even the messages around the Olympics and what I see or saw on TV, it just was not the reality when I got there. And I really struggled with even calling myself an Olympian, to be honest. And what I struggled with was actually the shame and the guilt from my time at the Olympics, because I didn't meet a certain standard or expectation that the world had, but also that I had put on myself, probably because of what I come to learn from the sport culture, that if you don't win a medal, if you don't even win a game, and I did not even win a game at the Olympics, then I just felt lesser than. And so God really honed in on that part of my identity, that again, what does it look like to be a child of God rather than being identified as an Olympian, even though the world saw me as that. I think I was really distracted with just the doing and all those things rather than pausing and being still and listening. And so in the midst of all these distractions, there were all these voices. I mean, even my family, and what they were expecting of me while they were there, of, hanging out with them, to my friends who were there, to my coaches, my teammates, the media, all the hype around the Olympics. There's just a lot of voices coming at me, and I didn't have a space to just pause and be still and listen. And I just wish I had done that, because I have learned over time that ultimately I want to listen and hear the voice of God. He would have reminded me that I am his daughter. And what that would have meant to me was that I would not be identified, or that the culture doesn't define me, that the results don't define me. It would have really grounded me hearing those things, because it was a time that felt really lonely. It was a time that felt, like I said, just filled with shame and guilt of not meeting expectations, the world's expectations. But he would have said that, that those things don't matter, that he loves me. Well, the other thing I learned is to embrace the both and, which is something that I'm actually just starting to learn to do now, because the Olympics was not what I expected. It didn't meet my expectations. And on the other hand, there were moments that were special to me. The atmosphere playing itself was really nice, and yet I really wrestled with just the disappointment that it was and the excitement that it was. So I'm learning now to embrace the tension of the both and. Jesus actually holds those tensions really well. And so as I learned more about Jesus and how he's both fully God and fully man, how, Jesus holds that perfect tension of grace and truth, when I really focus on him, I am able to hold these tensions well, rather than, going to one or the other. It just helped me to, since then, not compare myself to these worldly expectations or others, but really understand and hone in on how he created me. I think what I had hoped for that the Olympics would provide was this idea of revelation, where John says that, all tongues, all tribes, all languages, all people will come before the throne, or gather before the throne, praising God. And so knowing what I do now and looking back, the Olympics can't provide those things because it just falls short every single time, even though I grew up thinking that it could. And so God, on the other hand, has reminded me of the hope that I have of being in heaven one day and having this heaven on earth idea of all of us being united in Christ.